You are listening to the Racer to Racer podcast presented by Race 92. Race 92 is a vintage inspired racing apparel brand specializing in celebrating vintage race culture and adapting to motorsports today. Check out race92.com for all your racing merchandise needs. I'm your co host, Aaron McAtee, other co host. You may have seen walking out of a great clips with a big old smile on his face. You've probably seen him at a dirt track. He is a one and only Scott Bally. Scott Bally, how's it going?
Good, Aaron. How are you doing today, bud?
Good. We just had Christmas last week. Coming up on the New Year's here, and I know we said we weren't going to do an episode. I guess we kind of lied, but we kind of didn't because we're not releasing an interview, but we are just doing a kind of a short episode here.
Yeah, it was. We found some time. We wanted to do kind of a year end and kind of just sum up our year. And we started in April, and we've released a minimum of one show a week since April. We've had a couple where we released multiple shows in a week. So it's been a interesting year. We learned a lot. I've learned a lot for sure.
Yeah, no, I've definitely feel like I've come a long way with. I think we both have with kind of our interview skills and just I've come a long way with editing. And no, it's been great. So we started, like you said, back in April. Our first ever interview, and the first ever one we released was Jagger Jones, which we were just talking about. And I mean, what a great first one, and that one definitely went well. And yeah, and then after that, we've I think we were saying what Spike was our second one.
Yeah, we had Spike and Roberto Guerrero and Mimo Gidley and the list is on and on, man. Danny Thompson, Flynn Lazier, obviously Mario and Bobby Allison, and just what a great year. Got to talk to up and comers and legends, and got to hear some really interesting takes on things that I hadn't heard about, or maybe even stories I had heard that you kind of find out the truth about. And yeah, it's been way. I've gotten way more out of it than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, no, I definitely met or it exceeded my expectations. I definitely knew we'd be able to get people, but it's kind of taken off with, some of the people we've, been able to get, and, super thankful to be able to, talk to those guys. And no, it's been great. And, we definitely have some really great ones coming out here pretty soon. I know last week we recorded I think four. We recorded one a day of an IndyCar driver, current IndyCar driver. So yeah, no, really, really great interviews. And so the one we're doing next week is going to be someone that's, pretty big name, very recognizable. Like you said, he's somebody who's affected millions and millions of people.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, in when at the height of his popularity, I mean, wow. I mean, it had to be overwhelming, at least to some degree. Just everything that goes along with that type of notoriety, and especially in the time that he was popular, when there wasn't so much entertainment as there is today, so there's a lot more eyes on you, and um, and he's a good guy. I think everybody's going to enjoy him. He just he speaks his mind, and he just yeah, just he's interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's somebody like we were saying before that you wouldn't really expect. It probably, some people will probably be surprised, but he is somebody who's involved in racing. He's always been interested in racing, but he's doing some racing now. And he was in a pretty big TV show back in the day. So yeah, definitely was really cool. Talked to him, and he said that we could have him back on at some point. So definitely look forward to that as well.
Yeah, and that's been one thing that's been really good too, is we've had a few people who've come back on. Jagger Jones, we had back on. The first time I interviewed him, his career was kind of stalled out, and he was trying to make it in NASCAR, and all of a sudden he's coming to the open wheel ranks, and he's doing USF 2000, and he's got a full season of that going, and we talked to him about it, and it was so nice of him to come back on the show and share that with the fans. And um, man, it's and he's not the only one. That we've had a couple two timers that have not their shows haven't been released yet. The second time, the second show hasn't been released yet, but it's man, the fact that people are actually willing to come back on, right? I mean, we're at almost 100 subscribers,
99 at the
which
moment.
yeah, right at 99. Um, I mean, to me, that's hard to believe. That it's been a good year.
Absolutely. And when we started, this whole idea was to, get people stories in racing and, have a kind of a diverse field of drivers. And I know there for a while we were getting a lot of Indy 500 guys. But I think everyone will see kind of our first few interviews we release of 2021, or I'm sorry, 2022. There's a wide variety of drivers. So we're definitely kind of, branching out more with the interviews we're going to be releasing during the first month of 2022. And
Yeah,
yeah, we have.
that's go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there's NHRA guy and a couple other people that different than just typical IndyCar drivers or Indy 500. So we're definitely trying to kind of branch out more.
Yeah, I mean, diverse is the term I would use. Um,
Mm.
and some of the things we're trying to put together as far as the types of guests with try to they people that can offer some different insights and spins on things that maybe people take for granted, don't even think twice of. I mean, we're hoping to present some of those things, and we like giving the younger drivers a chance to be on here, and we've had three, four drivers around 16 to 19 years old. And we've got a few more planned. Hopefully the interviews come through, and at the beginning of the year we'll release those. And then we've had other guests who are absolute legends of the sport, and people who are in their 70s and 80s, and heck, Paul Goldsmith's in his 90s.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better, um, me personally.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously everyone sees the finished product, but there's definitely a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to get people. And Mario Andretti and some of these people I never thought we'd be able to get interviews with, at least not this early. So it's been really great to really, I mean, to interview these people and also to get kind of acquainted with people and people that we can call back, like Paul Page, for example. We've done a couple things with him already, and we can just basically give him a call whenever, and he's always willing to take our call and be on the show. Mark James is another example as well. So
Yeah,
we really established a lot of contacts, and actually the interview we're going to be releasing, I think second week of January, he made a comment that if you want to be involved in something as in racing, you got to put yourself around it, and by putting yourself around it, eventually you'll find a way in. And once you're in, you then gain a lot more experience with it.
sure. Yeah, and I think that, me personally, I think that particular interview is going to really, I mean, I really hope anybody who listens to this watches it and tells two friends, and they tell two friends, because it's somebody that I respect, have such a high degree of respect for. So, and he's just so much positivity, and yeah, he's a ray of light. And sometimes people are, not our guests necessarily, but people can kind of have darker outlooks on things and find reasons not to do things and find excuses, and that's not what this person's about at all. He wants to find reasons to do things, reasons to succeed. And
Right.
man, yeah, I don't know what to even say about that. That was so good.
Yeah, and it's somebody that your paths actually crossed, a long time ago. So it's kind of cool. And you actually said that's one that the conversation you had with him back in the day was kind of like the seed to this show, really, conversations like that. So it's cool to kind of see it come full circle and have him, have him on the show.
Yeah, and we discussed that while we're talking to him, and I've alluded to it a little bit in the past on the show, but I talk a little bit more about it. And for anybody who doesn't know much about me, I had a racing business for 20 years, and just I had a lot of people in the doors, and I had a lot of amazing conversations over the years. That's for sure.
Right. So yeah, like we said, this year's, been great. And what are some of your favorite moments from this year if you had to
Boy,
pick a couple?
you know what? I have a ton of them, and I think the ones that so I will not lie to anybody and think that I haven't went into some of these interviews thinking they were going to be one way, and they were a total 180 degrees different than I thought
Yeah.
they were going to go, and surprisingly so. And that has made me look in the mirror a little bit more. Um, and while I wasn't judging the interview, you in your mind you're trying to say, okay, this is how this is going to go. That's how that's going to happen. And then what you find out is, hey man, nothing's like that. And you just got to stop thinking like that, and you just got to go through your eyes wide open. I mean, whether it's people I've liked so much over the years and enjoyed, whether it's Jack Hewitt, our Jack Hewitt interview, Jagger Jones is one. Spike Gilhausen will always be one of my favorites because of how close our families have been over the years. Um, our Indy 500 preview, our with David Land and Spike, and then our Indy 500 review that we did. And honestly, Scott from the winning team, Scott Geiger, is another
Yeah.
person I really want to get back on the show. Scott, if people don't know Scott, please go back and watch some of these older interviews. If you're just finding the show, like Scott Geiger, he worked on Helio's car, and he got, I think it was his second ring as a
Second or
crewman.
third. I think it might be third.
It might be his third, and
Yeah.
but he's got a lot of stories over the years.
Mhm.
Robbie Mcgee was a huge surprise as far as how great that interview is, and it didn't get a lot of views. And I'll tell you, that's one of my favorites. Maybe more likely because, again, this is one of the ones that kind of surprised me. And the internet quality wasn't the best on it, but I thought Robbie was excellent. And and man, the list just goes on and on. I mean, it's easy to pick up the Marios and the Bobby Allisons, right?
Yeah, sure.
But, but then you talk to a guy like Paul Goldsmith who gets up every day and still goes to work in his 90s.
Right. And
And
one of the coolest, and speaking of Paul Goldsmith, one of the coolest stories he was talking about, and the thing that kind of, when he looks back at his racing career, one of the things he's most proud about is the fact that he was basically hired by the original Harley Davidson
yeah,
brothers. And I mean, how many people can say that? Not very many. Probably, I mean, no one alive. I can tell you that much, probably.
yeah, exactly. And that was a great story. And it had meant a lot to him, even
Mhm.
to this day. All of those relationships that he had in motorsports really mean a lot to him to this day. You can really pick that up and talking to him. And Lynn St James is another one. She's such a professional. Again, please go out and watch Lynn just talk. I mean, um, she's so smart, and especially in the business of motorsports and the marketing of yourself. And Tanner Holmes on the opposite spectrum. Tanner's 18 years old, and he is just
Very well spoken for his age.
very well spoken. He runs such a great, successful YouTube channel. Um, and man, it really does go on and on. And I mean, Roberto Guerrero, and one of the nicest people ever in auto racing. And man, I mean, I can't pick one. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. There's so many.
Spike's always going to be right there on top, along with Jagger, because of my personal relationships with him. But outside of that, I hate to put one above the other, because whether we're talking to an RC Anderson who's just trying to get his foot in the door and
Mm.
get a ride, or if you talk to Will Power, I mean, geez, we didn't even mention willpower.
Right.
And I mean, it's willpower. I don't care how you cut it. He's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Um, so, and he, and the willpower one, I mean, again, if people haven't watched it, he really starts breaking down how his mentality he uses to go qualify, and he shares some stuff, about, um, envisioning what he's going to do, and then, and all that type of thing, and getting in the flow state, and man, it just Steve Lewis. I mean, they just go on, and Steve Lewis, one of my heroes I've never really ever met in person, and I got to talk to him for 2 hours. And yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
man, I personally can't pick one that's a favorite. I'm not sure if you have one that you would call a favorite, but
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's definitely probably a group of at least 5 to 10. Marco Greco that's somebody we haven't mentioned yet, but that's someone I've kind of connected with on Facebook over the years, and we've kind of gained a little bit of kind of a friendship over social media, and it was really cool to be able to finally talk to him, and that was one. I mean, I knew Marco Greco would be good, but that was one that really exceeded my expectations as far as
I
some of the
agree.
stories, the story about, Indy IRL, yeah, I guess it was IRL at that point, asked him to back down on the first lap and let, I think it was Scott Sharp, pass him on the first lap,
Right.
which, is kind of weird, but that's a story, and that's the type of stories that, we're really looking for, crazy stuff like that. And no, that was great, and definitely, yeah, we'll definitely have to get Marco back on, but great guy for sure. And yeah, well, willpower, like you said, willpower was great. He's somebody that I've kind of known through the years, and somebody I definitely knew we wanted to get on, and he's definitely a personality. Ryan Hunter Ray's another one we didn't really mention. Obviously Indy 500 winner, very good driver. Someone hopefully, and I think he will have a ride next year, at least for the 500. He definitely deserves it. There's a lot of guys like, oh, this person should be in a ride, and they haven't won a race. And someone like Ryan Hunter Ray has proven that he's a race winner and can win championships. So it's definitely
Yeah.
someone, definitely want to
Ed
see how.
Carpenter.
At
Ed
Carpenter.
Carpenter, a guy who he just has been knocking on the door of Indy for seemingly a decade now, and trying to kick that door in. I mean, man, they just go on and on. I mean, it's going to sound ridiculous if I name everybody that we interviewed, but
Right, exactly.
Pete Holzmer. I mean,
Yeah,
how about Pete Holzmer,
some of those
right?
stories
He
are
was just,
great.
and then you find out, he's drafted into Vietnam, which I had no idea, and uh, man, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, just Bruno Junqueira, Michelle Jourdain. I mean, they just go on and on and on. Robbie Groff.
Yeah.
I mean, what a surprising interview that was for me. Um,
Yeah, no, Robbie's
yeah,
a
I
great
mean,
guy. Yeah.
he is a great guy, and yeah, man, I just it's been so much fun, and I got to meet people and talk to people who I never would have otherwise had a chance to speak with and hear their stories, and a lot of them really get into depth about their origins and what they really went through to get there. And contrary to what a lot of people believe, a lot of these guys aren't born with silver spoons, man. They've had to really work to do it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been great. Howdy Holmes was another one, a guy
Howdy
who,
Holmes.
I mean, he's a CEO of a really big company, and he kind of used that to help get his foot into the door for racing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, wow, man. It's just, they go on and on and on. And I'm so glad it's so diverse too. And,
Hmm.
I mean, I understand probably if we did all Brazilian drivers or all F1 cast-offs or F1 guys or all IndyCar, I'm sure our numbers would probably be bigger and better, but man, I sure wouldn't be having near as much fun. Um,
Right. And as much as I would like to interview Lewis Hamilton, I don't think it's possible at this point.
Probably not. Probably the last 2 years. We probably missed our chance by 2 years.
Well, I don't even know that, but I'm always kind of the
I'm kidding, by the way. He's been off the table for us for a long time, I'm sure.
yeah, and I'm sure he will for a long time as well. But you never know.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought Mario Andretti would be off the table for us as well.
that's a great point.
So
That's a great point.
I mean,
Uh,
really, when it's funny. So when we started this, I created a list of people I wanted to interview, and I would say we've interviewed maybe 70% of those people.
yeah,
So
you never really ever showed me that list, but I know the names that you were
yeah,
telling me,
I know Mario Andretti
and
was
I
on
know
it.
some of them have just been kind of MIA. Like you
Hmm.
just hadn't even really been able to find them.
Right.
Um,
And a lot of these guys, like it's hard to get a hold of some people. It's a lot of digging, and I'm always surprised when some people respond. And, other guys you obviously don't hear anything about. But like I said, there's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. But it's been it's been great. And we've kind of, become friends with some people, we just call friends of the show and stuff like that. It's been really, really great, like Paul Page. I
Mark
mean, there's a lot
James.
of guys.
I mean,
Yeah.
what a great guy! What a great guy Mark James is.
And I
I
know
mean,
he told
if you
us
called Mark
during
James right now, there
yeah.
might be a chance if he's not doing anything, he'd come right on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Not because we're best buddies or because that's the kind
Yeah,
of person he is. And
exactly.
it's just been man, it's so much fun to talk to these guys. I know I sound like a school kid, man, but it really has been.
Yeah, kind of like how you were during the Steve Lewis interview, like you said.
Hey, man, I mean, we competed against Steve.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, he was at the time the mark of greatness and still is. I
Yeah.
mean, until Keith takes that title, the USAC wins list away from him, the all-time wins list in midgets away from him, he's still the greatest car owner in USAC midget racing.
And he's an
And
entrepreneur. I mean, he started
yeah,
huge company, PRI.
yeah, I mean, this guy, he's
He has changed
and it
racing.
wasn't, and it wasn't easy for him, right? He didn't, he
Yeah.
like as he shares in the show, he didn't even get to go to a lot of the races. Here you are,
Right.
you've got one of the greatest teams of all time, but you're having to work so far away from where they race that you don't even get to go see a lot of the races.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
I just think there's so much. I think there's been a common theme amongst so many people, and if you've listened to the show
Hmm.
since the beginning, it's some of these people, all these people are extremely competitive. I mean, they want to win at everything they do, and they're driven, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to win. And I mean, I think that I mean, if we had one common thread throughout the racers part of it, the drivers part of it, that would be it. And we haven't had a lot of crew chiefs or that sort of thing on yet, but that's what we're going to find right there too.
Yeah.
Um, and it just goes to show that hard work, man. It's hard to beat.
And we've interviewed a few guys who, Robbie Mcgee would be one that they have normal jobs now and they don't really talk about racing. So they any chance they have to talk about their past, they love it. So it's been
Yeah, I mean,
it's really cool.
not that I would put Tice in that group, but Tice Carlson was
Yeah,
similar. I wouldn't say it's quite the same, but Tice doesn't, he doesn't go to the racetrack as much or whatever.
sure.
He doesn't race himself for sure. And that was, having a chance to reconnect with somebody I've known since they were a little kid in one way, and then right about the time he turned 18, till now, I've really, no, I mean, and heck, we forgot about Jimmy Kite.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kite, it was just a story of right place, right time, performing under pressure, and taking advantage of the opportunities he got.
Yeah, but like I said, like, a lot of guys we've talked to, we've developed, I don't know, I'm gonna say a friendship, but some of these guys were like, yeah, if I ever come to town, like we'll definitely get together, eat dinner or whatever.
Willie T. Ribs,
Willie T.
another guy.
Ribs. Yeah, and we're definitely gonna hold I know he's not listening to us right now, but we're definitely gonna hold him to that beer. He said that we can have a beer with him
Absolutely.
in May. So I 100% will be messaging him.
Yeah, no, and that was a great interview, and he's an open, honest guy,
Yeah.
and um, and of course, he's had a different road in the sport than a lot of
Yeah,
people had. Um, and while we don't talk about that a lot, but we do talk about it a little bit, um, and unfortunately for him, he was probably a man just a little bit ahead of his time. He was probably 10 years ahead of his time.
right.
You know,
And I mean, one thing we haven't mentioned, like obviously when we started the podcast, we've lost a few people in racing, and we've been able to do a couple little tributes. And actually, ironically, Paul Page has been the one doing the tributes. It seems like I know for Bob Jenkins, we had him on previously before Bob had passed, but he talked a little bit about Bob Jenkins, so we were able to release that as kind of a tribute, cut that out of the original interview, and we did one for Al Unser Sr. as well, which is really cool.
yeah,
And I mean,
yeah, and
who's a better guy than Paul Page to do that
yeah.
one?
I literally I don't have anybody that
Yeah,
I think could that generation of racer. I shouldn't say that generation. Maybe drivers of the last 40 years. I don't know anybody better to talk about it than
mhm,
possibly Donald Davidson, which Donald. We don't know Donald or anything like that, and I don't know if he'd do something like that. But I just think Paul's so generous with his time, and he's so kind, and man, what a tough year. We've lost so many people, in racing, and there's some people in racing I didn't know, like the gentleman from Honda that they just lost. It seems like everybody was really close friends with, and beginning of the year we lost Steve Stapp, who would have been an amazing guest, and he was one of the people I had on my list to get on the show, and
oh wow,
um, I really wanted Bopper on the show, but unfortunately, time wasn't kind to us on that, and we lost Robin Miller, another one I would love to have on the show, um, and Bobby and Big Al and so many others, and it's hard. I mean, because these people have been a part of your life in one way or another. Like I'd never known a time where any of the people I just mentioned weren't around in the sport. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So whether it's Steve Stapp, who was such a large figure, and a lot of people don't realize his connections with the Speedway with his dad, Babe Stapp, but he's one of the greatest sprint car owners of all time, with Pancho Carter as his driver, and he was a great sprint car driver himself. And hopefully, we can have his kids on sometime in the new year, and let them tell some stories about their dad, because I'm sure they have some amazing stories, because he was one of the true characters of the sport. But I'd never known a time without Bopper, and he's someone I always saw, or you just always expect to see Bobby or hear Bobby Unser. You're going to hear Bobby before you see him, but Bobby Unser or Big Al, and they're unfortunately they're gone. And Robin Miller, who went from being somebody in the sport, especially in RL days, was not loved. And when you saw the last 10 years, he just people just recognized he had such a love for the sport of IndyCar racing and open wheel racing in general, and he had become that bridge between the old heroes and the new generation drivers, and he loved IndyCar so much, and he's gone now, and that's a huge blow to the sport in many ways, because that bridge is now kind of, I wouldn't say broken, but there's no way they're maintaining it, with the stories and such. So that stuff I hate to see. I really hate to see that.
But yeah, I mean, I think when we're talking a little bit like when you look at the future of the Racer to Racer podcast, I definitely think there's definitely big things coming, and I think if you look at the interviews we're going to be releasing in the next few weeks, next month, 2 months, if that's a sign for what 2022 is going to be, I'm super excited because it's going to be
Yeah.
hard. It's going to be really hard to top, kind of what we have planned, and
So to just so people know, I mean, we try to record. I mean, we definitely record people when we have the opportunity to.
sure,
So if they present us an opportunity at this time, this is the time that we take. I mean, because they're all busy schedules. They have no reason to want to do this show other than just their generosity of their time.
Right. They're
And
not getting it. They're not getting a check in the mail from Scott
right,
Valley.
no,
I can tell
yeah,
you
absolutely
that.
not. And our reach is small right now, so they're really helping us in every way. We offer them very little in return as far as notoriety or
Mhm.
anything they get from it. They're just being generous with their time. And
Sure.
so we record when we can. So we've currently got 7 shows.
I think around 7.
Actually, if you include this one, it'd be 8
Yeah.
that that are recorded
There aren't released
um,
yet.
that aren't released yet. So you're going to hear some references to Christmas. Maybe in February, you'll hear some references to Christmas. But that's okay because that I mean we try to edit them. We don't take the essence of the show away, but we do clean them up a little bit.
Mhm.
And Aaron has to have a little time to do that.
When you say
And
we, you mean me.
I mean Aaron. Anytime I say we, I mean Aaron. Just
I'm just
in
messing with
life
you.
in general, if you're walking by me, you hear me say we, I'm usually talking about someone else that's going to do it for me. Uh, no, but so it's so we like I said, we're recording him, man. We've just been so lucky lately. We've hit this kind of a great gold seam where we're just digging out all these great interviews. And man, I mean there are some great interviews coming up.
Oh yeah.
Stuff that surprises me how good they are.
And
Um,
like we said, next week we're gonna have an interview that we're gonna jump into the new year with. There may be a
Jump into
pun
the new
there.
year,
Maybe a pun there. I don't know.
right? Just yeah, just jump right into that new year. Yeah, no, it's gonna be good, and it does have, and the guy is a racer,
Yeah.
so it fits the show. He does drive race cars,
Yep. He
dirt
drives
race
race
cars
cars and
actually.
always has been, yeah, and always has been interested in racing. And he was in a
Right.
TV show that was involved with racing as well. So it's definitely, definitely really cool. And I was joking a little bit about how, I was texting with the guy and I was super excited when he responded to me after the show because I sent him a text thanking him and he responded. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm texting with this guy right now. Because it's a guy I've spent, like me and you were talking about, like it's a guy we both spent hours and hours watching this guy on TV. And it's very surreal to,
It
talk to
is
some of these
surreal.
people.
Yeah, it is surreal, and I've had a couple of those moments. I will tell you that I don't like. It's not often with racers themselves I get to, and I'm not a person who gets starstruck
Right.
anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Um, but we've had a couple moments on this show. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
this is really isn't. This is outside of my normal life for sure.
Yeah, and there's been for me, there's probably only been two where I was like I said, I don't really get starstruck, but there's been two. One was Mario, and one was the one that we're going to be releasing the first
Right,
week in January.
man. How great was Bobby Allison?
Yeah,
Such a
that's
good
another one.
dude.
Like definitely racing great, and yeah, no, I
Good
had to
dude,
call
man.
him a few times to get that all set up, but crazy just say, oh, I'm going to call Bobby Allison. So that was really cool, and he's
Yeah,
someone I definitely think we can have on again sometime. But we
yeah.
had
I sure hope we do.
some connection issues, but we got him worked out. His phone kept dropping a couple of times.
What's amazing about Bobby Allison is when we're really talking about, because everybody knows him for driving stock cars. That's really all. I mean, by his IndyCar career is such
Hmm.
a small footnote.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I've never heard him talk about it before. And I'm sure he
and
has, but I've looked online, never really find much. So, and he kind of digs deep into that and kind of talks about how it all started and what his thoughts were. And I've never heard say that. And that's another thing. Like when we do interviews with these people, someone like Mario Andretti, how many times has that guy been interviewed? So many times.
right,
Like, we try to do, pick questions and talk about things that they don't normally talk about.
right.
And that's definitely what we did with Bobby and anyone. I mean, we try to be a little different and kind of change up the questions. And and that's one thing. Like Mark Jane said, he really enjoys talking to us because we're just kind of laid back and have a loose format. And that's what we're definitely trying to do.
Well, if you listen for any period of time or know me in person, you'll find out I have zero agendas in my life. The only thing I really like to do is I like to run my mouth. Um,
Hey,
and so
Spike says it best. You have the gift to gab.
that's right. Well, he had to know because his father was one of the greatest gifts of gab I'd ever met. So,
Really.
oh my gosh, stories about his dad was the best. I miss his dad every day. His dad's been gone now probably 20 years, and there's a day go by. I wish Carl wasn't here. Um, but yeah, I mean, Bobby Allison, man, he's talking about, and you didn't realize that what a racer he is. I mean, like he was non-affected at all about running those Indy cars back then. And
Sure.
he talks about doing a sports car test where the guys accused him of lying about never driving one because it just came so easy to him. So, man,
And
yeah, I
he
don't
wasn't
know.
going to do the Indy 500 until Roger was like, "I'll pay you," and he was like, "All right, I'll go."
Right? Yeah. I mean, people got to remember those Indy cars that he was driving
Oh man.
were those flat bottom aluminum tub cars with the giant tabletop wings on them, and it made 1,000 horsepower. And I mean, these things you spend, you talk to drivers, and Bill Simpson. I heard Bill Simpson talk about this, and Spikes talked about it. Talking about how if you weren't careful, you could spin the tires, across the short chute in that. Um, because you have so much horsepower to so little traction. And it's just, man, those things were beast. I mean, absolute beast. And to hear Bobby's like, it wasn't that big a deal. You
Right.
know,
No, that's absolutely crazy. And another thing I think we need to mention is we're going to be doing the Chili Bowl live thing, and actually a lot of people probably wouldn't even know about it from last year because we released it on a different platform, but we're doing it as a Racer to Racer podcast this year. And basically, so last year we did a live feed, I think during the like preliminaries on Saturday night,
on Saturday night, yeah.
and we had Kim Stewart on, who is a former announcer, and I think current announcer of ORP, right?
Yeah, well, IRP again.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, it's back to IRP. No, she announces there. She is the traveling announcer with Tony Stewart All-Star TQ Midget Group,
That's right.
three-quarter midget group. And she's been announcing in this state for over 20 years now, which is crazy.
Mm.
And then we had Kellen Conover on, a guy who ran the Chili Bowl, good friend of mine, and and we had David Land on last year. I don't know if David will be able to come back on this year or not. If he can pop in for a little bit, that'd be awesome. We had a good time. I've got I got a couple other people I'm trying to get on. I know Aaron's trying to work some people. It's just, basically we're just watching the Chili Bowl, and it's like kind of a race companion type thing. But I get off on tangents, or people can get off on tangents, and maybe talk about other things as well. But it'll be live, and it'll be fun. I mean, last year we did 3 hours, and then we did 2 more hours once we signed
Right.
off.
Right. Yeah. No, we're going to reach out to some of our previous guests as well who maybe have run the Chili Bowl and see if they're willing to be back on.
Yeah, it'd just be nice. It'd be cool to have people just pop in and out and maybe share their stories of it, and just talk about it, man. It's some such a fun time. And um Chili Bowl, I mean, it's a grind to go there now. It's a full week. To really go out there and to get the full experience, man. It's a grind, but it's fun to do the race companions and watch it, and hopefully if anybody I know is still running by the time that the races are on, I can cheer for them a little bit. And um but yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I had such a good time last year. And really, it was the kind of enjoyment of that kind of made Aaron and I go, hey man, why don't we try doing like an interview
Yeah.
show? And
Really.
yeah, I
Really
mean that
is.
really, because
Good
we
point.
it was a fun time. It's laid back. It's all the things that I I really enjoy. So
And that's the thing, like we're trying to really branch out. We want to do, we want to get into some other, projects and stuff. That's one of them. I know we want to, in 2022 do some more, video stuff kind of away from the podcast, maybe some visits, stuff like that. We're not really have anything concrete yet, but we have a couple ideas that we're definitely going to discuss. And and like you said, Jagger Jones, he's somebody when we interviewed him, he didn't really have anything really planned as far as racing goes. I mean, everything was kind of on the back burner. And since then, I mean, he has a huge opportunity in USF 2000. He's proven right off the bat that, I think he's going to be pretty competitive. And, he's somebody, hopefully we can, do some stuff with, definitely have him back on the show and, kind of follow this journey with him.
yeah, I sure hope that it all works out to where we can do that. And like Aaron said, there's two or three other things that we're thinking about doing. And while we won't necessarily change the format of this show, we may find a way to alter it. I don't want to use the word change. We're not changing. The core of this show is going to be the core of this show, but then we may alter some things about it um, to make it a little bit user friendly for the people listening, and may offer. Hopefully, if things work out, we can kind of offer things a little different way so people can kind of go out and find kind of what they like. And um, if there's certain things they don't like about, say, the beginnings of these shows, maybe we'll offer a different way for them to get that information. So there's just a lot of ideas. Some will come to fruition, some won't. But uh, it is exciting. It's so fun to do it with Aaron because Aaron's such a laid back guy, but he's really driven. And one thing I love about Aaron, man, is he once he gets an idea in his head, he tries to work it out to where he can do it. He's not somebody who's like, oh boy, I wish I could do that. Aaron's like, how am I going to do this? And that's what I really respect about Aaron. That's another reason I wanted to do this show, because that's who Aaron is. So yeah, it's been so fun, and a lot of it because of that. Like he kind of alluded to, sometimes it's really hard for him to run down the guests
Mhm.
because he's got to dig up emails and stuff like that, and he's very diligent. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for you, this show wouldn't be happening. That's for
I,
sure on
I appreciate
multiple levels.
I appreciate that. I think that may be the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. But no, and
Well,
like I said, like,
your dad says some nice things when you're not around.
oh, does he?
Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, sometimes we'll reach out to people and I don't expect to hear a reply, and we'll hear replies from people I never in a million years, expect to hear from. And there's a lot of times we'll do interviews and I'm like, I don't know if we're worthy to be talking to this person in the capacity we are, but no, it's been great. And like I said, when we look at how far we've come in 2021, super excited to see, what's possible in 2022.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very, very, very excited. I don't know. I have no grand plan other than just follow the path and see where it takes me.
That's all you can do.
Yep. That's my plan.
Well, yeah. Once again, we'd really appreciate everyone, listening and watching. If you haven't, make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube. Hopefully, by the time this video is released, we're at 100 subscribers. If not, and you're listening still, if you've listened this far and you're not a subscriber, hit subscribe so you can be number 100.
Please, please do. And eventually we'll work out a system where we can kind of maybe do some prizes every once in a while. We haven't never sat down and really worked out a good system. I know other people who
Right.
do it, so I'm sure
Yeah.
we can do it.
Yeah. We can figure something out.
But we would like to, start offering some people, just because so many of the people who listen, I hesitate to call them fans because I don't know if they really would consider themselves fans of the show, um, but the people who are so kind to subscribe and listen each week, uh, like to find a way to connect a little bit better and
Sure.
get just to say thank you. And I remember when you and I don't even know what month it is maybe August, and we were talking about, hey man, you see we're almost at 50 subscribers. and we couldn't believe it.
And that's just
And then
YouTube.
now,
Like there's a whole other system of subscribers as far as Spotify and Apple.
right? Yeah, we're just talking about YouTube, and I was just like, and then all of a sudden I was looking at it, it's like, oh, we're almost at 100. And it just, I don't know why it takes me by surprise every time. I'm just always surprised when people subscribe.
Absolutely. And during the course of the podcast, we've been able to establish at least one partnership so far with Racer Collect. We've mentioned them a couple times, and they've put put our logo and information on his website. And we actually interviewed Patrick Patton, who started it, and we put that in front of the Bobby Allison interview. And great guy, great company. And actually, I have the Christmas card from him in the background. I've had it in the past couple videos we've done.
Yeah, what a nice guy, man.
Yeah.
And I've never met him in person. You have, but
Actually, I haven't. I haven't yet.
oh, I thought you met him.
No,
I'm sorry. I thought you met him at the Carpenter auction.
no. I know he was there. I
Oh,
was there too, but I didn't actually meet him. He was. I got the Carpenter deal, like, I don't know, an hour early. They ended up opening it an hour early as well. So I was like the third person in line, and I think he was further back. He got there kind of late.
he, yeah, I really like his, like, what their how they run their business, because you
Yeah,
can trust that this signed uniform is actually who it's
yeah,
from, or the
because it's the
signed helmet.
driver selling this stuff, so it's
Right.
legit.
So a lot of times he's basically got stuff. I'm gonna use the term consignment. I'm sure he's got a better term for it, but they're basically using him as a brokerage where it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah,
So different drivers have their products. They have him listed. He works all the interactions and that sort of thing with it, and gets it to from point A to point B. And but it's authentic. It's not something that's, well, maybe it's authentic, but man, I sure don't remember the driver wearing a Bell helmet when this guy only wears a rye or whatever, and
right. And that's the problem with memorabilia. Like, obviously, I collect memorabilia, and I know. I mean, it's you run into it all the time where you question if something's legit. So when it's coming, I know personally, like, I've got stuff directly from drivers. I never question it when I buy it from the driver directly. And that's what I would prefer. So I think he's definitely got a good system, because if I had to pick, like, even if something costs less money on like eBay or something, and I have and this has happened before. This happened with Tice. I had an opportunity to Taisu was cheaper on eBay, but I got it directly from him because I knew it was real.
right.
So
Yeah, I didn't. So it's funny you mentioned that, and this is sort of similar to what you're talking about. So I was watching this thing the other day. I think it was Donut Media, and talking
mhm.
about cheap accessory, like car accessories you can buy on Amazon. There was a Sparko suit that it had Sparko on it, and it looked like it might be a Sparko suit. Had the right logos, and it was a fake. It was an absolute fake. It had no flame retardant um,
Oh wow.
capabilities at all. It had none of the FIA tags on it, none of the certified tags. And while it's not exactly what you're talking about, but that's what you're running into. You really run
Sure.
into, even with auto racing stuff today, you can get counterfeit, and you have
Yeah.
to be very, very careful what you're buying, whether you're a driver or if you're collecting memorabilia. It doesn't matter. You have to be very careful.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. No, for sure.
Um, like that suit, they set that suit on fire and it went up
Oh, I
like
bet.
that. I
Yeah,
mean,
if it's not flame retardant, that's definitely going to happen.
and they took it to Sparko, wherever they're located. There was a, I don't know, I wouldn't say there's a factory there. It's maybe the importer or however that works
Sure.
was in the same town, and they took it in there, and the guy looked at it and immediately said, "Oh, that's fake. This is why, and this is why, and this is why." He goes, "That isn't even close to being ours."
Right. And I mean, you hear a lot about, counterfeit shoes and, other purses and stuff, and that isn't going to necessarily kill you. But if you're wearing a suit that you think is flame retardant, it's not, that's going to kill you.
Yeah, no, that's
So
man,
it's a
that's
whole
spot on.
different deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a bigger deal than people think. I mean, not every racer can go out and buy the best of the best. So you got a lot of drivers who are looking for name brand stuff in their lower lines, and
Sure.
it's easy to be taken by some deal that looks correct, but it's not. And to kind of bring it back to where we started talking about, I mean, that's what you're avoiding by going through his company is you get the original thing. You get what you want. You get what you're paying for, and that's why I enjoy that partnership. Uh, it just it's just the right way to do it.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've talked talked enough for now. And yeah, like I said, thanks everyone for listening. Definitely, you make sure you pay attention for the next, few weeks because we're gonna have some really, really good interviews we're gonna be releasing. Really excited about it. And like we've been saying all along, super excited about the future.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the future, and as we kind of be able to evolve this a little bit, we're able to have a little more fun because we're starting to get through that learning phase a little bit, and so we can kind of branch out a little bit. And but yeah, it's been great, and I just want to. I know I say the same things all the time, but I just want to thank all the fans and the people who subscribe and the people who listen or watch every week. There are some people who not long after our videos load or our podcast drop, there's people who listen. So, man, I just can't even put into words what that means. And so all I can do is say thank you.
And I always enjoy when people engage with us too, like, comment on videos. We have that happen a lot lately. It seems like people are doing a lot more. And, we love hearing from people. Definitely there were some really cool comments. I need to get better with, kind of responding to some of these people. But yeah, definitely, if you're listening and, feel free to comment on, something you have a comment
Yeah.
about it or
Or
any
if I say
suggestions
something that's
or
not right, if I say
please
something that's
correct
not
them.
correct,
Yeah. Correct
yeah,
Scott.
please. Yeah, please let me know. That's how you learn. And yeah, I know. And like Aaron said, just to reiterate, man, we enjoy the interaction.
Mhm.
And like we were talking about, hopefully in the future we can get a little more one on one and do some things in the future where we can actually meet some of the people who listen to us. And I know Aaron's actually met a few people, and they've just come up to him and said, "Hey, you do that show or whatever," and that's cool. I mean,
It's
so
cool.
please, if you see Aaron out, you tell Aaron how great he is.
You won't see Scott out because he doesn't leave the house much.
Yeah, I am. I'm starting to become more and more of a hermit. I'm gonna have to make a resolution to go out more in the coming year.
Yep. Well, no, like I said, thanks everyone for watching, listening, and this will actually be released before the new year. So hope everyone has a great New Year's. Hope everyone had a great Christmas, and like I said, please make sure you stay tuned. Definitely for the first week of January as we jump into the new year. There's a plan again, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Man, Aaron's just a good old boy, and he's never meaning no harm. So I
Yeah,
hope
we're
everybody out
jumping.
there.
I think we're maybe jumping gun a little too much, so we're gonna stop you before we just give it completely away. Thanks, Scott.
Well, well, again, thanks everybody, and just exactly what Aaron said. I hope everybody has a great New Year, and
Mhm.
please be safe and take care.